Like I had this quintessentially kind of perfect life, and yet I felt hollow inside, and I felt essentially somewhat dead inside because I actually knew there's this unconscious calculator in me that we all have that knew that the world is extremely broken. And there was no sense in me of what I was doing was actually addressing that in any kind of way. And that my life, it felt, was really not actually amounting to any greater cause. And actually, when we actually tune into that place, that is a very existentially lonely place. And this started to really burn in me, and the level of like contradiction of that feeling and staying on in that life became quite great. And at that time, I heard and I read about, and kind of life led me to this idea of like, oh, at this time of life, you'd usually go through some kind of rite of passage where not only would you really face death, because that is what happens. It's really the point where a human being faces their own mortality and integrates that, which is part of what allows this greater sense of being able to be of service. And it's also through entering this liminal underworld, because going into that place of facing death necessarily puts one on a journey into a sort of underworld where one has to come to face with one's wounds and one's shadows, both personally and collectively. And the lack of us facing those shadows and wounds on a collective level is why we continue to have this very destructive mass cultural world that we have. And part of that, though, and this for me was what was really captivating, is that what I read and heard was that it's in that shadow liminal place, liminal being a place where boundaries seem to dissolve and one is betwixt and between. Perhaps you could say like what it is to be out walking in the dark in the forest in the middle of the night, is where reportedly a truer, deeper vision for one's life. Something that Bill Plotkin, the eco psychologist, has talked about as, the like greater niche you are meant to fill in the ecological web of like life is revealed. This like place that is commonly referred to as soul. And I was at at that at that point, it was like, wow, if there is a vision, if there is some greater sense of what my life is meant for that can be uncovered, because I think seeking it is not actually the right term. There's not another moment to like live just carrying on as like is. So I left. I created a severance, which is one of the stages of a traditional rite of passage, and really embarked on a journey into the unknown with this clear intention that I want to become a initiated adult, which is actually highly weird that somebody would want that, but that is what was coming through. And what I thought would be like a year-long journey became nearly a decade of quite amazing coming into contact with both my wounds, personally and collectively, but also a contact with the mystery and a certain relationship with the uncertainty of like life, where continually again and again I got peeled and stripped layer after layer of having to form a relationship with, some people call a higher power. I call the great mystery, the spiritual ecology of like life, to where there is really a partnership where no longer I could find safety through attempting to egoically control and map out my life, which is really where we are at as a mass culture. But I had to actually surrender into a partnership. It's not just complete letting go, but a partnership with mystery that is for me what the hallmark of being a initiated adult is. It is that capacity to know that true power comes from something greater through oneself, and it's that relationship that for me is the nature of prayer and ceremony and ritual, which is so much of how my life is navigated now and what's led me, and I think you also, to be here in the creation of the school.